Hello everyone and welcome to week 2 of the Resilience Growing Program. This week is all about the installation of your kit. You've received your box now with a courier in the mail, and there's so many great things in there you probably wouldn't know where to start. So step by step we're going to take you through the different steps to take to set up your formal home. So let's start with opening up the box. We want to be very careful because we're going to use the box later on in the program as a hydroponic farm. So we want to keep it nice and clean as nice and clean as possible. So when taking off the plastic, do it in a neat way. We're aiming to be as zero waste as possible. So all through the program, unfortunately, with tape, we didn't have the time to find a better solution for this, but in the future we will, and have that on our to-do list. So let's start by putting the box on the ground. We can have a nice overview. I'll take it out of the screen for a second. There's heaps of stuff in there. We're not all needing that now, so we're putting a few things aside. We're going to start by setting up the fish tank. So unfortunately that means that everything has to come out. Let's start with that, and then later on we can put it back in, but at least we'll have an overview of all the bits and pieces that are in the box. First of all, you can see that we've set up a bit of a piece of furniture, a small table here. And we've put a board on it, a bit of a thicker board, just to give it some extra strength. The tank and the aquaponics, the tank by itself will weigh about 40 kilos, so it's important that the structure that you're putting it on is strong enough to carry that weight. If you're not too sure, it's always have a look in the shed. If you find a stronger board than the piece of furniture that's available, put it on. It will bring the risk of anything happening down a fair bit. So, this tank has been custom built for the formal resilience program. So, and it's the exact size that you're going to need to grow your serve of microgreens. The tank is made of glass. So, glass, when it's filled with water, it becomes under pressure. So that's why we give it a bit of extra support, and this foam layer is designed to actually provide the tank with that little bit of bounce to protect the glass from breaking. Because if there's any little bits left underneath that goes underneath the glass, they can create a fracture once we start filling it with water. So very important before we fill the tank that it's sitting neatly on top of that foam layer. It's good to consider the exact spot for your tank, because once it's filled with water, we won't be able to move it easily anymore. So we're going to move it here all the way to the right side of the cupboard, and double check if it's neatly in the middle. I brought my measuring tape so I can actually make sure that I'm happy with it. I like the extra space in the back, so I can actually have my hands behind in case it's required. And there's some nice little extra space for your microgreens later on. We want the space to be ventilated as much as possible, so try not to put it all against the wall, because that means that one end of your microgreens later on is not going to have a lot of air to breathe. That's why we like to have it neatly in the middle. 8 centimeters there, and 8 centimeters there. That's perfect. I'm going to mark it. I'm going to look for my farmwall sticker. My farmwall sticker should have been delivered with the box, and here it is. This is a window sticker, so that means if you look at it, it seems reversed, but it's actually not, because from the moment we tape it outside of the glass, it will show the logo perfectly. So do not tape this sticker inside the tank, because of course filling up with water later on won't make it last very long. Again, very handy to have a measuring tape to measure the tank. It's exactly 40 centimeters. So I'm gonna make a little, oh, that's not my marker, that's my pow. There it is. Yep. I'm gonna make a mark here on the 20 centimeter mark. And in the middle, it's 28 centimeters high. The sticker is 10 centimeters. So I probably want 9 centimeters on each side to have it nicely in the middle. So I'm gonna mark that here as well. Done. Of course, when we're marking and putting a sticker on glass, it's always nice to have it very clean, because then the sticker will stick better and last longer. So with a paper towel, give the tank a good wipe, so it's nice and clean. These tanks have been built in a warehouse, so it's a great idea to take some warm water and actually wash the whole tank before you actually use it. Sometimes the glaziers, they use Windex to make the glass, to clean the glass before they add the silicone to it. So there might be some residue of that Windex left. So make sure you clean your tank properly before you start using it. But try not to clean it with soap, just plain warm water. Of course, I've taken my markings off now. So Tobias is going to cut this out of the video. But I'm going to mark the tank again and peel it off. Again, this is optional. If you don't want our branding on your tank, I completely understand. Okay, so we've got a clean tank. I've cleaned it with warm water, and we're ready to go. It's got a Pharma logo in the back. The next step, which you'll use, is the under gravel filter. So first, clean the tank. Second, measure where you're going to put it on the table. Make sure that your styrofoam base is underneath. Give it some extra space for ventilation of your microgreens. Add your sticker, and then we're moving on to the step of the under gravel filter. I think the under gravel filter is one of the best filters you can use in an aquarium. It's affordable, it's simple, and it's really effective. It will make your tank very healthy from an ecological perspective, and it will create great biofiltration for your fish to live a healthy, happy life in their tank. So it's like a plastic mesh, as you can see, very simple, and a little tube. We're going to place this on the bottom of the tank. We want to consider where our power point is coming out now, and how we're going to place this, because this will be having to be closest to the power supply. So I know my light's going to come on this side, so that means my pump is going to sit in the left back corner. This will later on be attached to the pump, so I'm going to slide the tube into the framework and set it up like this, and put it in the tank with the tube in the back left corner. That later on will be connected to your water flow. Alright, so that's sitting neatly on the bottom. Make sure that you're happy with where it is. That the tube's connected properly, and now we're gonna add the gravel. We provide you a 5 kilogram bag of aquarium gravel. Of course, this is often packed in large quantities, so we can't always say for sure that it's clean gravel. So we're going to wash it, rinse it with some warm water. I'm going to open up the bag with my scissors. And I brought myself a bowl, which you can take into the kitchen to wash my gravel. Pour it in. This is a fairly thick gravel. It's about 4 to 6 mil. It's important that the gravel is relatively large, because it can't go through the mesh, and because if it can go through, it will end up in your pump later on, causing trouble. So I'm going to the kitchen, going to give this a quick little wash, and I'll be back in a minute. As you can see, the gravel that looks relatively clean from the outside actually is still relatively dirty. If this goes into your tank, your water will be cloudy for at least a day or two. So I always give it maybe 3 or 4 rinses. It's like you're digging for gold. Just give it a good rinse. Giving it a rinse will help you have a cleaner, clearer tank much quicker. We're back at our tank with our washed gravel. Again, I'll repeat it regularly, only use warm water, no chemicals, no soaps whatsoever. So we've washed our gravel, now we can pour it into the tank, slowly and carefully, on top of the under gravel filter. That's done. Aquascaping might be a topic that we come back to later on. What we want to do now is scape the gravel a little bit so that the majority of the gravel is covering the under gravel filter. This is where all your solids and the dirt will start going into the gravel and be captured underneath the gravel, so your tank stays nice and clean. So in this case, the corner of the filter is in the left top corner. So that's where we're going to aim to have most of our gravel. And so most towards the back, and then pile it up towards the back. So we've got like a good 3 fingers of gravel in the back, and maybe 2 fingers of gravel at the front. So it's also much nicer for the fish and for the eye if the tank is shaped that way. And if you later on decide to add plants to your tank, they'll have a better way of catching, of growing their roots in the deeper sides of the gravel. Just make sure that you're happy with it. You can get creative. It's also nice to find some rocks in the garden. Make sure that if you use any rocks that you wash them again with hot water. It's not always a good idea to use rocks that you find outside. It's better off to get one in the local aquarium store, because some rocks will alter your pH levels in your water at a later stage. So always make sure that you know where your rock's coming from, that it's clean, and that you're sure that it's not going to alter your pH. So white rocks mostly bring your pH up. That's just a tip. All good. Next one is your driftwood. So we've added a piece of driftwood into your kit. Sometimes you can soak this overnight in hot water to make sure it doesn't drift, so it doesn't float on the water, so it actually sinks. If you've used this driftwood before, normally it stays in the bottom from day one, so it should be alright. You can be creative with this and actually use it in your scaping. So we can either stand it up, but knowing that later on our microgreen tray is going to come and sit on top of this fish tank, it's probably going to be too high for it to be able for the tray to sink into the aquarium. That's why it's better that we put it down. And in this case, I'm actually gonna push it up a little bit so that I've got more gravel behind it than in front of it, and it becomes a bit of a feature, an underwater garden feature for the fish. But again, you can get creative and do whatever you feel aesthetically pleases your eye. So that's it for the fish tank for now. There is another element that will come to it about how to install your pump and your air pump, but we'll cover that in another video.